Hello friend, today I will discuss Raman spectroscopy. When a monochromatic light radiation or radiation of very narrow frequency is passed through the transparent substance, approximately 1 in 10 to the power 7, a small amount of the radiation is scattered. Actually, this is not due to the dust or defects, but a molecular effects which provide another way of studying the molecular energy levels. As we all of know that whenever the light radiation is passed through the matter, there are the possibility that either the absorption or the transmission, or you can say the radiation, this can be happen. But in addition to this, scattering also may be happen if we pass the any radiation through the matter. So in case if the radiation is scattering is there, so these you can say this is the phenomena which we will observe in the Raman spectroscopy. We study in the Raman spectroscopy. We found that when these pass through the transparent substance, then these radiation is scattered. And we found that this is not due to the dust or the defects, but it is the so you can say another way of studying the molecular energy level. The scattered radiations be observed at right angle to the incident. The scattered radiations are found to have not only radiation of the incident frequency, but in addition to this, certain discrete above and below of the incident frequencies are also observed. This phenomena, this is, or you can say this phenomena is known as the Raman scattering. Now I will discuss the quantum theory of the Raman effect. According to this theory, photons, we know that photons can be uh, imagined to undergo collision with molecule. And we know that whenever the molecules collides with each other, the collision may be the elastic or the inelastic. So if the collision is elastic, they will deflected and change, and in this case, it gives rise the Rayleigh line and they leave the molecule in the same state. And if the collision is inelastic, the molecule can gain or lose some amount of energy, and it gives rise the Stokes and anti-Stokes line. Since Stokes lines are accompanied by the increase in the molecular energy, while the anti-Stokes lines with the decrease in the molecular energy. We can see from the diagram that let us consider if nu I is the frequency of the incident and nu s is the frequency of the scattered radiation. So in that case, if the if the nu s is greater than nu I, then lines obtained are called the anti-Stokes lines. And if nu scattered is greater than nu I, less than nu I, then it is called the Stokes lines. If it is these are equal, then lines obtained are called the Rayleigh lines. So these three lines are observed in the case of the Raman spectroscopy. You can see from this diagram that when the molecule go to the from lower state to the excited state, and then after the scattering comes back to the same state, then this gives rise to the Rayleigh line. If it's not, you can say coming to the same ground vibrational state but to some another state, then at that time this new, you can say f equal to nu y minus nu, you can say nu m. Here I repeated, this is the Raman shift. And similarly, if it is greater than if it is in the higher vibrational state, higher ground, higher vibrational state, and then come back to the ground vibrational states, then at that case we get the anti-Stokes line. So here we are able to find that anti-Stokes lines are obtained when the molecules are already in the higher you can say higher excited states. Only in that case the you can say energy of the scattered radiation is greater than the incident radiation. So this is the reason that always because this should be the in the excited vibrational or rotational states. So that's why Stokes and this is the less possibility at normal temperature that molecule is in the already in the excited vibrational or rotational states. So that's why Stokes radiations are always more intense than the anti-Stokes radiation. Now, what is Raman shift? Raman shift is actually the difference in the frequency of the scattered and the incident radiation. So, nu m we represent Raman shift by the nu m, and this is equal to nu s minus nu I. Now, we'll discuss the classical theory. So, what is the classical theory? Actually, in the classical theory, it is based on the polarizability of the molecule in the presence of the electric field. And we know that polarizability is the development of the charge due to the effect of the electric field in the molecule. So, late if a molecule is placed in the electric field, then the induced dipole moment you can see is given by mu equal to alpha into E, where E equal to electric field acting on the molecule and alpha is the polarizability constants. We also know that the induced dipole, in induced dipole, the distance between charge is directly proportional to strength of the applied field. It means greater the applied field, greater is the distance between the charges. Uh, Generally, in atoms, the polarizability is isotropic. We knew the difference between the isotropy and anisotropy. We know that isotropy, this property, you can say in this we get the same value and going the you can see different direction, while anisotropic where the value are changed in going from in the different direction. So in atoms, the polarizability is isotropic and acts like the antenna and re-radiates the incident frequency that is known as the Rayleigh scattering. While in the molecules, polarizability may be anisotropic and depends upon the rotational and vibrational coordinates, and this also gives rise to the Raman scattering. Now let us explain this particular phenomena by taking the example of the some diatomic molecule. Let us it is H2. So the induced dipole moment will be higher in magnitude always when the electric field direction is along the internuclear axis then that of the perpendicular to the internuclear axis. The polarizability of molecule in various direction is generally represented by the polarizability ellipsoid. And we should know that greater the polarizability, least is the axis of the ellipsoid. So the polarizability ellipsoid is directly representation of the polarizability present in the molecule. Here it should be clear from this figure that here hydrogen, this is the hydrogen molecule, hydrogen is the diatomic molecule H2. So here the electric field is applied in this figure A, the electric field is applied across the bond axis of the hydrogen molecule, while in this second case the electric field is applied in the direction of the bond axis of the hydrogen molecule. And it is clear from the polarizability ellipsoid that in this particular case, when we are applying electric field across the bond axis, there is no difference, no change in the polarizability ellipsoid when it is, you can say, electric field is applied across the bond axis. But when the electric field is applied across in the direction of the bond axis, then the change in the polarizability is obtained. It is clear that electrons forming the bonds are more easily displaced by the field if it is applied along the bond axis, then across the bond. And we should not confuse the polarizability ellipsoid with the electron charge clouds. These two are totally different things. Polarizability ellipsoid is only applied to show the polarizability present in the molecule. So now, when this type of the molecule is subjected to the beam of radiation, the electric field experienced by the each molecule is given as E equal to E0 sine 2 pi nu I into T. Where we know each thing, E0 is the strength of the applied electric field, nu I is the frequency of the incident radiation at time T, and so the induced dipole, and we also know that the induced dipole also undergo oscillation of the frequency as we applied the whatever the electric field we applied on the particular molecule. So that's why since mu equal to alpha into E, so these equations become substitute the value of E, we are able to get mu equal to alpha E0 sine 2 pi nu I into T. Such an oscillating dipole emits radiations of its own frequency, oscillation frequency, and it show explanation of the Rayleigh scattering. Now, if the molecule undergo some internal motion like vibration or rotation, it changes the polarizability periodically, and the oscillating dipole will have superimposed upon it the vibrational and rotational oscillation. So now polarizability is given as alpha equal to alpha 0 plus beta sine 2 pi nu vibrational into T, where alpha 0 is the equilibrium polarizability and beta is the rate of change of the polarizability with the vibration. Now we substitute the value of alpha in equation 3. We are able to get mu equal to alpha 0 plus beta sine 2 pi nu vibrational into T and E0 sine 2 pi nu T, nu I into T. Now, we use here, we multiply this particular function inside the bracket, and we know we here use the trigonometry function. We know sine 2 sine A into sine B equal to cos A minus B minus cos A plus B. We use the formula of this trigonometry function here. Here we have these two terms, sine 2 pi nu vibration into T and sine 2 pi nu I into T. We use that particular formula. So we multiply this inside this particular bracket. We are able to get alpha 0 into E0 sine 2 pi nu vibrational into T plus because we applied the value, so beta and E0 here, we just put it here, and sine A into sine B equal to 2 sine A into sine B equal to cos A minus B minus cos A plus B. So here 2 is not there, so here this becomes 1 upon 2, and there cos 2 pi nu minus nu vibration into T minus cos 2 pi nu plus nu vibration into T. So here in this equation there are three terms. So in this first term alpha 0 E0 sine 2 pi nu I into T represents the Rayleigh line. This other term, this cos 2 pi nu minus nu vibration into T, this represents the Stokes line, and this nu plus nu vibrational cos 2 if you multiply the this 1 upon 2 beta 0 inside, so this term becomes 1 upon 2 beta E0 into cos 2 pi nu plus nu vibrational into T. This represents the anti-Stokes line. So by using the, you can say this particular classical theory is able to explain the origin of all the three line, that is Rayleigh, Stokes and anti-Stokes line. So it means the oscillating dipole has the frequency component nu plus minus nu vibrational as well as the exciting frequency nu. Now the selection rule for Raman scattering. So for being Raman active, a molecular rotation, or you can say vibration, must have the uh, an isotropic polarizability. So you should keep in mind, for showing Raman spectra, the molecule should possess the anisotropic polarizability, and we also know that for the molecule showing the IR spectroscopy, it should have the permanent dipole moment, and there should also be the change in dipole moment during the vibration. Then only the molecule shows the IR spectra. But here in Raman spectroscopy, the condition is that it must show the anisotropic polarizability. The second thing is that delta J equal to plus minus 2. So here, uh, or you can say, but means that this is the first selection rule. Now I am going to explain the quantum theory of pure rotational Raman spectra. For showing the molecule, the pure rotational Raman spectra, the selection rule is delta J equal to plus minus 2. So if delta J equal to plus 2, it shows the Stokes lines, and if it is minus 2, it shows the anti-Stokes line. So as we know, energy at the rotational level of the diatomic molecule in wave number is given as this particular formula. We already discussed this formula in the rotational spectroscopy, that is nu var equal to Bj into J plus 1. Here we are considering the simple equations for the rotational level of diatomic molecule. We are not considering the distortion term. So nu bar equal to Bj into J plus 1. Now let us consider the energy absorbed during the transition from J to J dash. Delta nu dash is the value change in energy in terms of wave number. So B J dash plus 1 minus Bj into J plus 1. Now if delta J equal to plus 2, it means the energy absorbed from transition J to J dash. Here J dash is equal to J plus 2. Then substitute the value of J dash, that is J plus 2, in this particular equation. We are able to get this term. Now delta nu var equal to B into 4J plus 6. Similarly, if delta J equal to minus 2, then we again substitute the value, and we are able to get delta nu var equal to B into 4J plus 6. So it means in Raman spectra, the frequency of the scattered radiations, you can say, we can obtain, and now this frequency will be equal to plus minus delta nu bar. This is, you can say, if we are going from the this Stokes lines and anti-Stokes lines. So depending upon that, the value of the Raman shifts is plus and minus accordingly. So del nu bar is scattered equal to nu I bar plus minus delta nu bar. So in this case, if delta J equal to plus 2, then nu bar here, this is nu I R bar minus nu bar, because Stokes lines has the lower frequency than the Rayleigh line. So what we observed here, that nu, we just substitute the value 4J plus 6, and let us consider the molecule is going from J equal to 0 to 2. Means it is excited from 0 level to the second level. Then in that case, nu S bar equal to nu I R bar minus 6B. Then again, if it go from 1 to 3, then we get nu I R bar minus 10B. Similarly, from 3 to 5, we are able to get this nu I bar minus 14B. Similarly, if delta J equal to minus 2, then here delta nu I bar plus delta nu bar, and these are the anti-Stokes lines, and we are able to get this, that for this from 2 to 0, this is nu I R bar plus 6B, 3 to 1, this is nu I bar 2, you can say 10B, here wrongly I have 2 to 4. Okay, so here from 4 to 2, we are able to get nu I bar plus 14B, centimeter inverse, and so on. So what we obtain here, if you see here, from 0 to 2 or 2 to 0, here the difference is 6B. But later on, the difference between the Raman lines is 10b minus 6b 4b 14 minus 10b 4b. It means what we observe here, that Stokes lines are you can say Stokes lines. We can see here the conclusions. Stokes lines appears at lower energy level, that is 6b centimeter inverse as that of the required for the Rayleigh line. Similarly, anti-Stokes lines will appear at higher energy value by amount 6b centimeter inverse as that required by the Rayleigh line. Energy gap between Stokes line is 4b centimeter inverse, and same for the anti-Stokes. It means both Stokes and anti-Stokes lines are, you can say, at a distance of 6b centimeter inverse from the Rayleigh line, while the energy gap between the in the Stokes lines or anti-Stokes line is 4b centimeter inverse for them. And also the energy gap between Stokes and anti-Stokes proof pop line is of the order of 12b centimeter inverse. Here in this figure you can see here 0 to 2, 1 to 3, 2 to 4, and 3 to 5, 4 to 6. This is the transition that are showing here. Now you can see here that this is the Rayleigh line, and from this first Raman line appears at the distance of the 6b centimeter inverse from the Rayleigh line. While later the distance is only 4b centimeter inverse in between the either the Stokes line, or the anti-Stokes line. So it is clear from the figure now. Now the pure vibrational Raman spectra. For the vibrational Raman spectra, the selection rule is delta B equal to plus minus 1. So nu bar equal to nu plus 1 upon 2 into nu bar, that here W bar is same as the delta nu bar, means Raman shift. So the energy absorbed during the transition from B to B dash, that is equal to, you just substitute the value. So delta nu bar equal to V bar B dash plus 1 upon 2 W bar minus V plus 1 upon 2 W bar. This is in centimeter inverse only. So delta B equal to plus bar absorption. This becomes, we are able to get delta nu bar equal to B plus 3 upon 2 W bar minus B plus 1 upon 2 W bar. So we are able to get that delta V nu bar equal to W bar centimeter inverse. This is corresponding to the fundamental frequency of the vibration, and the frequency of the spectral Raman line is given by nu S bar equal to nu I bar plus minus W bar. W bar, we know that this is equal to the Raman shift. So this is for the Stokes lines and anti-Stokes lines. Here I also want to discuss the rule of mutual exclusion. According to this rule, if the molecule has no center of symmetry, then the vibration in molecule may be both Raman active and IR active, just like in water molecule. And if the molecule has the center of symmetry, then in that case, IR active vibration will be Raman inactive, and vice versa. Means IR active vibration that are Raman inactive, and those are Raman active vibration, they are Raman IR inactive. You can here see the example of the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, we know this the CO2 molecule possess the permanent dipole moment, and in symmetric stretching, the dipole moment cancels because of the vibration. The dipole moment generated by one vibration is cancelled by the other. So that's why this particular symmetrical stretching vibration is the IR inactive. But here, in this particular case, when this vibrates, then the change in polarizability occurs. Because of the change in polarizability, this is the Raman active. While in this case, asymmetrical stretching, there is change in the dipole moment. That's why this is IR active. And because this is the IR active, so because of rule of mutual exclusion, this is Raman inactive. CO2 shows the, you can say, 4 vibrations, because we know that for according to degree of freedom, that is 3n minus. This is the you can say linear molecule. So that's why it follows the rule 3n minus 6. So according to this n number of atoms, so 3 atoms are there. So 9, sorry, 3n minus 5. So 9 minus 5 equal to 4. So it shows the 4 type of the vibration. So symmetrical stretching, asymmetrical stretching, and these two in plane bending and out of plane bending vibration. In this, these two vibration are degenerate, so we are able to get the one, you can say, line, IR, you can say line in the IR spectrum, but here no change in polarizability, so therefore these vibrations are Raman inactive. So the rule of mutual exclusion is very important for studying the IR and Raman spectroscopy. I also want to discuss the Raman instrumentation. In Raman instrumentation, generally we use the laser. So this Raman spectrometer consists of several basic components, including a laser, which is a source of the light radiations. Here, generally the solid state lasers are used in modern Raman instruments with popular wavelength of around 532 or 785 nanometer. So the monochromatic light radiation is passed through the sample, and we know that scattered light is studied at right angles to this. So we studied this at the right angles, right, you can say angle, and we, you can say, uh, here the scattered light in between, we, you can say, we place the filter. What is the use of the filter here? This filter eliminates Rayleigh's and anti-Stokes line scattering, and the remaining Stokes scattered light is passed on the dispersion element. So this is generally holographic grating, and then CCD detector captures the light and resulting in the Raman spectrum. So here we use the some diffraction grating, and later it is here, this is the CCD detector, which you can say captures the light, and we get the Raman spectrum. So since you can say Raman scattering is a weak signal, so it is very much important that high quality optically well matched components are used in the Raman spectrometer. So you see the figure, this is the laser source of the monochromatic light radiation. It passed through the monochromatic light radiation passed through the sample. At right angles, we put the filter so that radial line and anti-Stokes lines are eliminated. Then we pass it to the diffraction grating. This disperse the light, and here we use the CCD detector to get the Raman spectra. Now, what are the advantages of Raman spectroscopy? Actually, first and foremost, you can say advantage of Raman spectroscopy is that it can be used with any type of, you can say, you can say phase of the matter, like solid, liquid, or gas. We know that rotational spectroscopy is observed only for the substance in gaseous state, while the vibrational spectra is observed for the gas and liquid state. But we can use Raman spectra for any state. Also, because the IR spectra and rotational spectra can be used only for the molecules which are showing the which are having the dipole moment. So it means homonuclear diatomic molecules are not able to show the rotational spectra or the IR spectra, but here Raman spectra can be used for this type of molecules like oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, etc. Because having dipole moment is not required the condition. Here the condition is that it should possess the anisotropic polarizability. Also, in this case, we can use water, that is the, you can see, universal solvent. So that's why the other type of the, another type of the spectroscopy, we are not able to use the water. So here water produce no interference. So that's why we can use water as the solvent. It is non-destructive, and you can say, and it is also highly specific, like the chemical fingerprint of the material. So there are many more advantages of the Raman spectroscopy. Now here I also discuss the some numerical problems based on Raman spectroscopy. So here just you can say take the this numerical. A sample gives a Stokes line at 4,458 angstrom. When the exciting radiation of the wavelength this 4358 angstrom is used, calculate the wavelength of the anti-Stokes line. So we know that here we are representing the values in terms of the wave number, and we know nu are equal to 1 upon lambda. So we want to know the value of the Raman zip first for getting the wavelength of the anti-Stokes lines. So we know the formula nu s bar equal to nu I bar minus delta nu bar, because the Stokes line, because the frequency of the Stokes line is given, and this is equal to nu I bar minus delta nu bar, low frequency, then the incident radiation. We just substitute the value. We know nu bar equal to 1 upon lambda, and then we are able to get the value of Raman zip. Now the frequency of the anti-Stokes line, so you can see use the formula nu I bar plus delta nu bar, and just substitute the value, and we are able to get the wavelength of the anti-Stokes line. Now in the second numerical, it is was given that it is excited by this particular line of the frequency. So this is the wavelength of the incident frequency, and the Raman line was observed at this particular angstrom. Calculate the Raman shift in centimeter. If you see here, it is not given whether it is the Stokes line or anti-Stokes line. So you just compare. This is the 4358 angstrom incident and 44447. Means Raman lines has the higher wavelength, and we know that Stokes lines are the low frequency. It means high wavelength, while the anti-Stokes lines are high frequency, means low wavelength. Here the wavelength is high. It means this is the frequency of the Stokes lines that is given. So that's why we use the formula and just substitute the value, and we are able to get the Raman shifts. Okay. So in this particular lecture video, I try my best to include all the different topics related to the Raman spectroscopy. So thank you very much.